The delicious taste of Corona. Must be time for some dumb memes from the left. Not a lot of memes to go through this week because this meme came up in my feed early last week and was a doozy. Did previous civilizations deal with whiners like this? Man, we've got to open the gates. We've been through this, Phil. The Mongols are still outside.
Mongorian?
But I've got to harvest my turnips. Mongols.
It's those goddamn Mongorian again!
Ugh. But we've been in here weeks. That's how sieges work, Phil. But the Mongols have barely killed anyone in days. That's because of the walls, Phil. Are you sure? Maybe the Mongols aren't that dangerous.
Goddamn Mongolian!
I'm just saying, how bad could it be? They can't kill all of us. That is literally the thing they do. But my turnips. And this pile of stupid comes from Extreme Liberty? You mean the Facebook page that supports the Second Amendment and craps on the mainstream media and socialism? Is this Bizarro World? Is Bill Shatner sporting a goatee? So never minding that every species ever to have existed, including humans, get this, takes risks to survive in entering the world around them.
Being a sentry is a risky business, as they are easy targets for predators. But with young pups to protect, they take greater risks by climbing higher. Here, they can see predators earlier, but are vulnerable to birds of prey. Their self-sacrifice is about to be tested. With no regard for her own safety, she prepares to face the snake.
And if you don't harvest those turnips, you starve. And get this, death by starvation is still death, but what if those people off in the distance weren't the Mongols? What if, as we've known all along, 80% of patients show no or minor symptoms, almost no one dies who's young and healthy, the virus isn't mutating, immunity lasts for months, if not years, and the already tiny mortality rates are way overestimated because they are totally dependent on confirmed cases rather than actual cases, which may put us off by orders of magnitude when it comes to mortality rates, and thus put us kind of in line with the common flu. But hey, don't take my word for it, all you lefties out there. Let's listen to the scientists, like this one from Stanford.
It's likely that 3.4% number the World Health Organization now has put out is probably too high. The central key piece of missing scientific information is what's something called the seroprevalence, the proportion of the population that have antibodies to the virus. If we had that number, we could know the true death rate, and we could know how extensively the virus has spread.
There's also just the lack of testing generally means that there are tons of people who are walking around who may in fact have it and are asymptomatic, but have not shown up for a test. So we're missing a couple of numbers. We're missing the people who have recovered and have the antibodies, and we're also missing the people who are walking around symptom-free and transmitting this thing because those people aren't getting tested at all in most places.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, so there's both are absolutely sources of error in the denominator of that number. My hypothesis is that it's less deadly than the flu. I believe that it's very likely a widespread disease and much less deadly than somewhat less deadly than the flu on average. I think there's the shutdown on the other side will have enormous consequences. I mean, I'm looking at unemployment rates that are just on Great Depression level, and I think that there are mortality effects of that as well. So I think one of the key things I would like to see reformed is to systematically appreciate the not just the visible consequences of people dying of COVID. It's visible. People reasonably want to do something about that, but also the invisible things that happen later as a result of policy. Because I believe there's likely to be excess deaths, substantial numbers of them among the poor, among the elderly, among lots of vulnerable populations as a result of the depression that I think we're about to hit. The key question is what's the seroprevalence, and I think once we know that, then we can start to relieve the shutdown. If it is as high as I believe it's likely to be, if you're antibody positive, you're probably immune. Go back to work. There's no risk of you from COVID, no risk of spreading it. And so we can end the shutdown right there. Because right now, the policy of a complete shutdown is going to have consequences on the other side, and people have characterized it as dollars versus people, deaths, but that's not really right. It's deaths on both sides. If you have an economic depression, people are going to die.
Yeah, so this doesn't sound like the Mongols. This sounds more like the French.
You cheese-eating surrender monkeys!
Which is actually an apt analogy, because as long as you're not in Western Prussia in 1805, you probably don't have to worry about the French. I mean, hell, even in 1805, if you're in the U.S., England, Russia, Australia, or basically the entire rest of the world, you're probably not going to have to worry about the French. Or for that matter, the entire world outside of about a decade in the first part of the 19th century. And yeah, if you're in Jena in 1806, you probably want to put up those city walls and stay behind them. But if you're in Hartford in 1806, it looks more like it's time to harvest those turnips. Well, that was short and easy, but fun, so let's see what you had to say. I heard Phil died of starvation, but at least he was safe from the Mongols, who harvested and ate his turnips while they waited. Well done, Matthew Regrin. It's too bad I had to go to a private group to get this comment, so Liberty Block fans out there, time to step up that commenting game. And you'll get that opportunity next Monday night when we post next week's dumb meme to the Liberty Block's Facebook page, which is also where we'll be taking dumb meme suggestions. Link will be in this video's description. As always, best comments make the Wednesday night video. See you next week, folks.